Deshaun. Yo, what's up, Swag Gang? You already know what time it is, man. It's your boy, KL, aka KL Swag. Back here with a video, man. Look, man. Deshaun Watson has officially been suspended by the NFL. Man, shout out to Microphone, bro. And we about to get into this juicy video. Make sure you get your popcorn. Make sure you subscribe to the channel as well. Make sure you turn on the post notifications. You know what I'm talking about? Do y'all really know what I'm talking about? I'm talking about that bell. Make sure you turn on that bell. All right? To y'all new subscribers, man, I am K Swag Reacts. We go crazy with the football content and basketball content as well. You know, anything, bro. But mostly football because that's what you guys like when I react to and stuff like that. But subscribe to the second channel as well, Swag Vlogs, and let's check it out.
Did you find her attractive?
That wasn't my intention, sir.
Was she a massage therapist?
Yes, sir.
Trained?
I'm not sure, sir.
Why you would post something on Instagram suggesting that you were in New York City when you were instead in Houston getting a massage.
Advice of my lawyer, I assert my rights under the Fifth Amendment.
Today's a day that has been a year and a half in the making.
Damn.
From the very beginning, when Deshaun Watson demanded a trade from the Houston Texans after a very tumultuous season with the Houston Texans, then a few weeks later, we got the plot twist of a lifetime. Multiple cases being levied against Deshaun Watson for seeing way too freaking many masseuses. And we've been waiting to see what the punishment for that will be. Originally, Deshaun Watson missed all of last season, and it looks like it could potentially be more as Judge Sue Robinson issues her final suspension today. So before we get to the content, man, make sure you drop a like, subscribe, and turn on our notifications to help the channel grow. If you want to get shorter versions of this content, make sure you follow me on Instagram at The Flight Mike and TikTok at Microphone NFL. Now that we get all that out of the way, break!
I'm not gonna lie, bro. I gotta see what's going on, bro. How long is he suspended? Might be a minute, bro.
I'm really excited because today's sponsorship has helped my lifestyle a ton.
Okay, we understand you got the bag, but we gotta skip that, my boy. We do understand that, though.
Little challenging. I mean, he was really close to getting traded to the Miami Dolphins this past year during the
Monster Spill.
Hit me already.
Quicker picker-upper. Bounty.
Try the new $2 cheesy double beef burritos, now at Taco Bell.
The trade deadline, but the Miami Dolphins wanted all of the charges dropped before they decided to give up.
That's crazy. If the Dolphins would have had Deshaun, that would have been different.
As a result, since none of the charges were dropped against Deshaun Watson, or none of the cases were settled against Deshaun Watson, bear in mind at the time Deshaun Watson was still pending potential criminal charges during the trade deadline. No team ended up trading for him during the trade deadline. And this became a storyline heading into the offseason. After all, Deshaun Watson is a pretty freaking good quarterback. I mean, many people forget, but the last time this individual played football, he completed 70% of his passes, threw for 4,823 passing yards, 33 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. This was the year that he lost DeAndre Hopkins. So the football ability is clearly there. But the question was, would Deshaun Watson even be able to get on field the moment that he is able to play again? He took all of last year off in order to focus on this aspect of his life. And ultimately, we found out a few months ago that all of the criminal charges brought forth against Deshaun Watson were dropped. Not the civil lawsuits, but the criminal charges. As a result, you saw a huge frenzy. Multiple teams were trying to trade for Deshaun Watson, primarily the New Orleans Saints, Atlanta Falcons, and Carolina Panthers, before the Cleveland Browns stepped up to the plate with the craziest contract that I have ever seen in NFL history. Not only did they give up significant draft compensation to get Deshaun Watson, but they signed him to a fully guaranteed
Bro, that's a lot of money.
$200 million contract. So even if Deshaun Watson gets suspended today, he is still going to get paid. And ultimately, I believe that's a huge reason why he went to Cleveland. I don't think any team was willing to pay Deshaun Watson that type of money. And it's nothing against those other teams. That's a huge risk to be taking. But the problem is, shortly after that, we had more civil cases and more civil cases and more civil cases brought forth against Deshaun Watson.
Crazy.
And ultimately, a few weeks ago, the NFL did two things. One was say that they were angling for an indefinite suspension against Deshaun Watson. And two, they brought in a judge, Sue Robinson, who technically was retired and is now being the judge for this case, to give an official ruling for how long Deshaun Watson should be suspended. So it's important to pay attention to a few things here because the NFL was very calculated in the way they did this. And there's no better person to explain why than Albert Breer. So Albert Breer said on Twitter that those involved have expected a suspension of less than a year, but it remains a little unpredictable. This is Sue Robinson's call and her first NFL case. If it is less than a year, then Roger Goodell will have an interesting call to make. One thing to add here, and I think this is very, very important, all along, the NFL's been aggressive in getting the word out that they sought out at least a year. They did that at the risk of angering Sue Robinson. Why? Say the case isn't going their way. Then they can say, we tried, which is the relevant PR element of all this. So I said this from the very beginning. Why would the NFL come out and say,
hey, we want to suspend Deshaun Watson for at least longer than a year, but hey, it's up to this judge to decide.
Because that way, if Deshaun Watson gets suspended from 4 games to 8 games, Roger Goodell could show up and say, it was out of my hands. We hired a professional to sentence Deshaun Watson for a specific amount of games. Now, what's even crazier about this is the NFLPA even put out a joint statement on Deshaun Watson, the impending arbitration decision. So there's a lot of PR, marketing, posturing going on, so the NFL could kind of save face. Check this out. In advance of Judge Robinson's decision, we want to reiterate the facts of this proceeding. First, we have fully cooperated with every NFL inquiry and provided the NFL with the most comprehensive set of information for any personal conduct policy investigation. A former federal judge appointed jointly by the NFLPA and NFL held a full and fair hearing, has read thousands of pages of investigative documents, and reviewed arguments from both sides impartially. Every player, owner, business partner, and stakeholder deserves to know that our process is legitimate and will not be tarnished based on the whims of the league office. This is why, regardless of her decision, Deshaun and the NFLPA will stand by her ruling, and we call on the NFL to do the same. So this morning when I woke up,
bro, there's a lot going on with Deshaun, bro.
Former federal judge Sue L. Robinson. So first reported by Adam Schefter, but Ian Rappaport also includes a lot of interesting information in addition to Tom Pelissaro and Albert Breer and Dove Kleiman. Yeah, we have a whole super team bringing you guys information this morning. Former federal judge Sue L. Robinson has found that Deshaun Watson violated the personal conduct policy and has suspended him for 6 games. Right away, you could tell
it's not that bad.
The NFL decided to give a bunch of disclaimers prior
6
to this
games
ruling being announced.
Not that bad.
Know people are going to be upset about the fact that Calvin Ridley was suspended for an entire season for gambling on a game that he wasn't even a part of. But Deshaun Watson was only suspended for 6 games for having 24 civil lawsuits brought forth against him, which we're going to get to the NFL.
Hey, it's levels. It's levels. That's all I'm going to say. It's levels to it. Hey, Deshaun Watson is a quarterback. I mean, even if he did it or not, I don't know if he did it or not. But Deshaun Watson, like I say, he different. He different. That's all I'm going to say. Not just different on the field, he's just different. And he got all that money. So, he paying. There's a lot of people right now. People be doing some bad stuff. But when you have this right here, when you have the money, when you have that, and you pay them all off, you're going to get by. You're going to get by. So a lot of people going to be mad at Deshaun and then, Calvin Ridley, he got suspended the whole season. Hey, it's levels.
NFL's rationale in just a second. Let me just give you guys the entire sentencing. So Schefter continues to say that Deshaun Watson was suspended 6 games. He was not fined. Tom Pelissaro mentions that Judge Sue L. Robinson's decision also says Deshaun Watson must get all of his massage therapy from club therapists per source. I know I shouldn't laugh, but I'm glad that that information was also thrown in there. I'm just trying to imagine like a judge sentencing something like that. I don't know, in my head, I thought it was kind of funny.
What?
So here's the crazy part. Deshaun Watson's side doesn't seem happy about this, and the NFL still hasn't given their word about whether or not they're going to appeal this decision. According to the
so it's not...
the NFLPA has said that they will accept this decision and they will not appeal, and there's been no word from the NFL so far.
6 games,
Now,
not bad.
The NFL has 3 days to decide to appeal Deshaun Watson's 6-game suspension. I could see the NFL appealing Deshaun Watson's suspension just for the sake of marketing and PR, just so they could say we did everything we possibly could so we could give him maximum punishment against Deshaun Watson. But the former judge that we hired decided to suspend him for 6 games, so we can't really do much about this. Our hands are tied in this situation. We hired a professional, and this is what her ruling was. This was by far the best case scenario for the Cleveland Browns because Rapshi mentions what games Deshaun Watson is going to miss. And don't get me wrong, maybe once football season starts, every team is going to be in a different place, but at least my perception against most of these teams are they're rebuilding. He's not necessarily missing many games against contending teams. You can make an argument for 1, maybe 2 contending teams because he's going to miss games against the Carolina Panthers, the New York Jets, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Atlanta Falcons, the Los Angeles Chargers, and the New England Patriots.
Oh, good. We're going to get that W.
Team in that
He
list
paying my Patriots?
Yeah,
we're going to get that W.
Which would be a shame for Deshaun Watson to miss. But for
Listen, my Patriots, okay.
These are games that I feel like Jacoby Brissett could go out and actually win some of them. I mean, especially when you have Kareem Hunt and Nick freaking Chubb in your backfield, I'm fairly confident that Jacoby Brissett could pull off some W's. Deshaun Watson could come back against the Baltimore Ravens, and the Cleveland Browns could get rolling. Now, of course, if Jacoby Brissett loses all of these games, then obviously the Cleveland Browns are going to be in a difficult situation. But if he could at least hold off the Pittsburgh Steelers, beat the Carolina Panthers and the Atlanta Falcons, I think the Cleveland Browns will be in great shape for when Deshaun Watson returns. Now, in terms of Deshaun Watson, is he prohibited from practicing with the team currently? Well, Tom...
Google Pixel lasts up to 72 hours with extreme...
Tom Pelissaro actually mentions that Browns QB Deshaun Watson is in the building and is expected to practice today, per source. Players suspended for less than a year are generally permitted to participate in all activities through the preseason. Now we get to the rationale for the suspension. And this is what Judge Sue L. Robinson had to say about Deshaun Watson's behavior, saying that his pattern of behavior was egregious, but notes that the behavior was non-violent sexual conduct, and explaining the decision to suspend him for 6 games. Albert Breer gives you some other examples, and I actually tweeted a whole list of previous examples for players that have been suspended for 6 games or less or more. Albert Breer mentions that Browns QB Deshaun Watson's 6-game suspension mirrors past penalties for Cowboys running back Ezekiel Elliott and ex-Steelers QB Ben Roethlisberger. Watson's case, like Elliott's and Roethlisberger's, lacked criminal charges. And if you want an additional list for this type of stuff, I tweeted it out on my Twitter. I mean, Tom Brady, 4 games for maybe being generally aware that a football may have been the permitted PSI. Ray Rice for raising a hand on his fiance was 2 games. Adrian Peterson for felony child abuse was 6 games. There's a whole list if you want to go in and compare it to previous suspensions. But it seems like the vast majority of people are very upset about this because Dove Kleiman makes a very interesting point. Cardinals wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins received a 6-game suspension for a PED violation. Deshaun Watson was facing over 24 sexual misconduct lawsuits. Josh Gordon was suspended for 78 games by the NFL for smoking weed. Calvin Ridley was suspended for at least 1 full season for making a bet that his team will win. Vincent Jackson was suspended for 3 games because of unlicensed driving, and Plaxico Burress got suspended for 4 games for shooting his freaking leg. That's a crazy story that we definitely need to make a video on one day. So Ari Meirov gave us a little bit of an insight to what actually went down,
you gotta do that
saying
one.
that
I want to know what
20+
happened.
women accused accused Deshaun Watson in civil lawsuits, the NFL brought just 5 cases to Judge Robinson. NFL argued for a full season suspension. Robinson hands down 6 games. The NFL could appeal and potentially add games. The NFLPA could then look to suit in court. This isn't over. Now here's the bizarre part. According to Diana Rossini, apparently Deshaun Watson's side isn't happy with this. I spoke to sources close to quarterback Deshaun Watson who believe the 6-game suspension is too much. They stand by his claim that he did not do anything wrong. However, they do accept this was a fair process with a neutral party hearing the case and making the decision. Obviously, Deshaun Watson's side is going to come out and say that. I mean, no matter how
at least 3 games.
That's just PR and marketing.
At least 3
at that point. Overall, do I think the suspension is fair? It's very difficult to say because personally, I'm coming from a place where I also acknowledge the fact that Deshaun Watson didn't play the last year in the NFL as a result of his situation, and possibly because he didn't want to play for the Houston Texans anymore. I also acknowledge the fact that the NFL is the most inconsistent league whenever it comes to handing down punishments, as you're going to see on my Twitter account and as we've mentioned in previous examples. So it's really hard for me to say whether or not this is a fair punishment because I'm not necessarily an expert in regards to this field. I could say that this was by far the best job the NFL could have done to avoid potential backlash, which is finding a scapegoat and sue Robinson and say,
hey, she laid the ruling. It's not on us.
But at the end of the day, this was the best case scenario for the Cleveland Browns and Deshaun Watson. You heard the possibility of him being suspended indefinitely or for like a year. Imagine suspending Deshaun Watson for over a year and him getting paid guaranteed money. At least in this scenario, there is still a chance for Deshaun Watson to come back and potentially lead the Cleveland Browns to a successful season. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think about this, man.
Bro. That is crazy as hell. I'm not gonna lie, man. Damn, man, that's crazy, man. I feel like, man, I just want to see him play again, bro. Give him a 3-game suspension and let him play again. I'm trying to see him play. But keep him out until he play my Patriots, because we don't need that right now. See you guys in the next video.